Hello, I'm Binzer Flinn, and welcome to the Flinncast.
Oh, I totally just shut Discord. Oh, wait. No. Oh, stupid window. I have 8 billion. Like, perhaps that's a little bit of hyperbole, but there's a lot of. It's not just tabs. It's like 2 monitors worth of stuff. I don't even know where anything's buried. Oh, look, there's an otter.
Speaking of wild and crazy, hello,
Hello,
Mr.
hello, are you there? Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Awesome.
This is where
Okay.
we talk about the things.
The Things. I love that movie.
Okay, we're not talking about that movie.
No, I
Just
know,
the-
but I'm just saying, when you say The Thing,
It was a good movie. It was a
that
very
was
good movie.
such a good film.
It was a very good movie.
I got a phone call from Turkey. I'll be sure to answer that.
It's like, seems unlikely.
Yeah. No, I actually, it was incredible. It was like the best film I'd ever seen to that point. Does anybody remember the first film you ever saw in the theater?
Ooh.
I do. I absolutely do. It
What's
was
the
Where the Red Fern Grows.
Oh my God.
Terrible and sad and traumatizing.
Wow. I saw at the Mayfair or the Mayflower, which was in downtown Dartmouth, I saw Toco Gigio, which was a little Italian mouse puppet.
I think I saw one before it, but my first real memory of going to the theater was seeing E.T. with some friends.
Ooh, E.T.
Go see E.T.
And my friend cried at the end, and I had to console him.
I can't remember my first movie in a theater, but the earliest movie I can remember is seeing The Hunchback of Notre Dame in Prince Edward Island at the Brackley Drive-In. That's like my earliest theater memory.
But which version? Was it like the old school one, or which one was it?
No, I'm talking the Disney one from the 90s.
Oh God.
He's a baby, remember.
I know. That freaks me out once in a while that you and I are the olds. Like it's like, oh yeah, the Hunchback of Notre Dame. I'm like, oh, Lon Chaney. It's a silent black and white film. It's like, no, Disney. Oh shit.
The one that sticks out for me was my mom and sister went shopping and then stuck me into a theater in 1986 to watch Transformers the movie, and I was by myself. I was 10, and I got to watch Optimus Prime die, and I was fucking traumatized.
Oh man, Mom used to drop us off. This is the old days. The Oxford Theater would run like 2 or 3 movies at a time in the afternoon, and they were garbage films, like totally garbage monster movies. And we used to go. It was like an entire theater of under 12-year-old kids screaming.
It
was amazing. But it was so funny because my mom says to me, "Okay, Michael, if any old man tries to sit beside you, go sit somewhere else, okay?" And I'm like, I'm glad I didn't take that advice. Hey, do you know what movie I'm watching right now? I'm watching Saving Private Ryan. I forgot how good that film is.
It is a wonderful movie.
I had a newfound respect for my grandfather O'Leary after I saw that movie. He was with the Canadians at Juneau.
Oh, really?
Yep, he jumped over the side of the landing craft and lived, obviously.
Holy crap.
Merritt, are you ready to dish on Westworld? I know you got a lot of theories you gotta get out.
So, I haven't seen season 2 or season 3 of Westworld yet.
Well, this is spoiler land, fair warning.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Damon actually watched the last one with me because we were staying up to watch Penny Dreadful, which was on right after. And I had to keep stopping and going, this is what's going on. The rest of that's not going to make any sense for you.
So, are you enjoying season 3 as much as season 1 and 2?
Of Westworld?
Yeah.
I did. I actually really liked the first season. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed the finale. I I feel like, and Mike, I know you asked this. I don't know if Fat Apollo can hear me or if he's randomly looking around for his headset. But I liked season 3 better than season 2. I still like season 1 the best.
Season 1 had that really cool, everything was still new, that magic to it. And I really liked season 3. It changed tone a lot and kind of became like this cool cyberpunk show. And it was really good. For me, season 1 and season 2, I have to go back and rewatch them carefully. They kind of bleed into one for me. You know what I mean?
Like, I like season 1 because you're figuring out who's, I mean, you still are, I mean, really, even into season 3, but you're figuring out who's a host and who's a human too. So there's that. But it's also just more about Westworld. I guess I think part of what it is they hit a point in season 2 where they've escalated the violence to a level where I'm like, I don't even know what's happening anymore. People are like being terribly executed. And, honestly, you hit a point where, and I was explaining this to Vander actually, my feels on it, is the interesting thing with it is nobody is a particularly sympathetic character.
No.
So you don't know really who to root for entirely because, like Dolores, for example, has done some incredibly terrible and violent things. But you look back at how she started.
She's well motivated to her anger.
Right? Like it's hard to not be completely understanding of why she is so angry at humanity because all she knows was like terribly awful stuff. So, and then in season 3 come to, actually being out in the humans world, and it turns out still assholes. It's not even just like in Westworld they were coming to be assholes, still assholes everywhere.
Did you not feel that in the season Bernard was at all sympathetic? He's sort of the one everyone kind of thinks is the nice guy.
You know what? He is, but because he's got this sort of, he is definitely more sympathetic for me in season 3 than I found him to be in season 2 or season 1. But of course, in season 1 we didn't know
Right.
that he was a host either. So, but because I mean, you still get super violent ninja Bernard as well.
I love what early in the season when he kind of clicks the button. I don't remember what he said, but it was something like don't kill them" or something, and the Terminator mode kicks in.
Yeah, it just says remember who you are too.
Yeah.
I think was one of them. And I mean, it's cool that he has control over it. And I mean, he definitely does. And I actually really like Stubbs. Like a buddy cop movie of like Bernard and Stubbs would be.
I did like
cool.
that. I kind of felt a little bit like Stubbs being revealed as a host was a little shoehorned in, but I don't know, it still worked. I don't know if it was necessary to the story, but I was okay with it.
I think, I mean, the only way they were going to be able to bring him back was if he was, honestly, too, right? Because of the mask.
Which makes me wonder if that was a decision they made on the fly or was always supposed to be like that.
Yeah, and it's possible too. But now, like, all I could think of, I mean, I don't want to skip to the end already, but all I could think of at the end was poor Stubbs. Well, sorry, the after credits end. Did you watch to the after credits?
That was going to be my next question was, did you see everything that happened after the credits? Because quite a bit did happen.
Yeah. It's funny because Damon and I were watching it and we were getting ready because it actually ran, it was an hour and 11 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So we were already like into the time that we had been going to watch Penny Dreadful, and he was like, well, it says there's 5 more minutes left. And I'm like, well, there is something going to happen then. This is not 5 minutes of credits. Like, there's no way. So,
yeah, the video file looked a little too long for me, so I was like, I better just check.
Yeah. So we did. We stayed and watched the end. And I'm glad because obviously, holy heck.
Yeah, they did some cool stuff with William this season, and that after credit stuff was pretty cool.
I kind of thought he was gonna get some level of redemption. I mean, he's a terrible character, and I get that you know what, I like the fact, like I liked his therapy.
That was cool. I like that.
Like they actually, because you expect like after this happens, that his dad's gonna beat on him, and his dad is essentially telling him, no, it's okay. And so like he has this whole moment where you're like, oh, it's going to turn out that William's just a terrible human person because he was beaten as a child. Nope. Turns out he was just a terrible person.
He's always been a dick.
It's right.
I enjoy his terribleness though. He just walks around cursing and wanting to kill everything. I dug it.
Well, like you really thought at that moment that it was gonna be, oh, maybe there's a tiny little bit of sympathetic character in William because he was gonna be the good guy all of a sudden, you decided, and we were all gonna go, oh, his life was so terrible. No.
And I'm very glad I went against those expectations.
I
Because
am too.
truly, we've seen what he's done. He is kind of not forgivable.
When he starts out, when he's young and first starts going to Westworld, you kind of start to believe that he becomes awful because people treat him poorly in the company, all that stuff in the
Kind
beginning.
of, yeah.
But nope. Like, he was just a terrible human. There you go. But
So by the time we get to the end of the season, Meredith, did you decide come down on Team Dolores or Team Maeve definitively?
I always kind of wobble over into Maeve anyway, because she, to me, was the more interesting character. Even though I question, I feel like she is, because she's so self-aware, that the fact that she keeps falling back to her daughter, interesting, because she knows that that's not her daughter.
Yeah.
Not really, but she keeps going back to, because she fell in love with this child anyway. So I think I come down as Maeve, but I do like Dolores's kind of ending. And
her Twitter account is quite something.
I have not watched it or looked at it.
Oh no, her Twitter account, because she was victim of sexual abuse, and she's very open about it, and she talks about why her character on the show is influenced by her actual real life abuse.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It was actually very hard when I first started watching the first season, because as a woman watching it, because there is so much, so much rape and just women being beaten just because guys
Could
want to, right? Like, this was how they paid to get away and do this. So it was actually really hard in the beginning, but then as you started to see the female characters come alive, and it's funny because by the time you get to season 3, like, this is such a woman driven show.
Yep.
Like, all of the main characters, really. Like, even when you look in oh my gosh, I forget his name, the guy that was in Breaking Bad,
Aaron Paul.
Caleb.
like, even Caleb is like important, but really he's just kind of a
He's a
puppet
sheep.
too.
Well, that's why it was cool. Like, I like that picture I shared with you, Joni, about how she was in the first season and how she is in season 3. Like that development of Dolores.
Yeah, no, she had probably the cooler character arc. Like Maeve's character arc is amazing too, because I like the fact that how she just became self-aware. How she just kept every time remembering more until she started realizing, oh no, this is not happening anymore. And then she started making other people self-aware. So I like that. But I also, the very vengeful part of me, like seeing Dolores.
Yeah.
Horrible people. So.
Well, it's funny because I think it was about a month ago I watched the original Westworld again with Yul Brynner, and it was different than I remember it. It was pretty cool. because in Westworld, and I forgot that in Westworld, the movie, there is medieval world. So there are people in, the medieval times. But it was a really good movie.
I haven't watched it. I keep meaning to read the book because I like Michael Crichton a lot, but I have not read it.
Well,
Yeah,
it's not a book.
Yeah,
No. It's a screenplay. He wrote that screenplay.
I thought that.
He didn't
Oh,
adapt
sorry,
it.
I thought it
an
was
original
adapted from
screenplay.
his book.
No, that was it was an original screenplay he wrote, which is why everyone was weird that it wasn't a movie, and that's why he directed it.
Okay, I understand. That makes more sense. Because I thought I'd read a lot of Michael Crichton stuff. Because Jurassic.
Well, and that's definitely probably why it's so hard. Also, can I just say that it's next to impossible for me to hear the words Yul Brynner without thinking of chess.
That's
Just
funny. That's funny.
every time in a show with everything but Yul Brynner.
Oh man, yeah, it's a good film. It goes a little bit off. Do you remember Michael Crichton did that movie Sphere?
Yes.
That was garbage.
So I watched it on TV like 4 times.
That movie was absolute garbage.
Wait,
Seriously.
I think we talked about this movie years ago, Paul, because you were talking about your terrifying fear of jellyfish.
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
That's not
I
a good
hate-
one for you.
Oh my God, I hate jellyfish. Like, they really scare me.
They're different gelatinous blobs that sting you. What's
Yeah.
it like?
Well, you see, what I was going to do was, I think I told you that I was going to make a jelly mold and take it to Lawrencetown and make it a clear, and I'm just going to put it on the beach and like let a kid start poking at it. And then I'm going to say, hey, do you know you can eat these? And then I was going to start to eat it. And then you could have this kid eating jellyfish on the beach.
Allegonia reports a strange man on the beach menacing
Children.
Convincing them to eat jellyfish.
Just looking to see what other Michael Crichton ones. See, I've read The Sphere as well, and Rising Sun,
And Congo.
I've read as well.
Sphere was terrible because remember, like,
Timeline. The Andromeda Strain.
oh, Andromeda Strain was good. That was a great film.
That was.
And the idea that the guys aren't getting the alerts because a tiny piece of paper has gone in between the bell and the striker. And like they're trying to troubleshoot the machine, but it's literally a tiny piece of paper that's gone in between the bell and the striker.
Should just do an entire discussion about Michael Crichton, and then I can read them all again.
Yeah.
But yes, overall, for Westworld, if you haven't watched it, watch it all.
I'm planning a rewatch very soon.
Yeah. I
I
gotta
am
watch
thinking
these.
of rewatching the first season because it seems like so long ago because it's like
But
2016.
it is, yeah.
And then, but also it's like it's a different show. Like
It
season
is.
1 is not season 3 in the
Oh,
slightest.
so
This is
different.
really a show that has evolved over time, and like as you mentioned, it was set up as this kind of like typical HBO show. It looks there's the sex and rape, and it's like, okay, I don't really think this is needed, but it was actually used as a plot device to then fully switch things and get a much better show out of it, I think.
It
Because we
gave
have terrible people.
it essentially took women and gave them their own and brought them into their own. It was terrible because I really, really dislike rape as a character development.
Yes.
I hate it. It's unnecessary usually. But because they had to show how completely horrible these people were, like the humans. Because I mean, let's face it, as humans, we're going to start watching a show with robots. We're not going to come down on Team Robot. You know? Like you're going to come down, you're still going to be shifty, like they're going to take over. They're always going to take over. That's what's going to happen. They're going to take over. But by the end of it, you're like, I hope they do.
Yeah.
Because we don't deserve this.
I really enjoyed Dolores's digital assistant and how fast it got things done. It made Bria look like a piece of shit.
Right? It was awesome. It was like I really enjoyed. I'm curious to the one thing that I never quite got, and it might just be me, is how much like did they essentially just leave? How much time is between everything that happened back on Westworld and when we see Caleb at the beginning?
And I think that's a good point, but I think we can get that information from Rehoboam, like those divergent states. Like I think it's there, because they do cite the incident at the park as a major
Yeah.
point. But also, season 3, this is the first time we've actually been told what year it is. Like
That's
we
true.
were told when the park opened was essentially the current time it is now, but we were never told specifically what year the show was set in, and that was the point, because we, with the dual timelines or a time periods in the first season, they wouldn't want to tell us what year it is.
I
Right.
missed that completely. What year was it?
It's like 2053 or something.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
It's future, but not like scary far future.
Yeah, not
like
that far.
the flashbacks of Ford in his like probably 40s, which makes sense. 40s, 50s is set in like 2018.
Okay.
So it's like me. I could be him.
And that's how they explain like the music in Sweetwater, and how it's
Yeah.
all like 90s and early 2000s music.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that when they would have
point.
created the park, those would have been the music that those people had grown up on, right?
The music remixes in this show were fucking incredible.
Oh, unbelievable.
But they didn't do near as many. And Cam and I were talking about this when we were kind of rehashing things. They did not do near as many this season compared to, other than the ending. I mean, they ended with Dark Side of the Moon, but it was Dark Side of the Moon. It wasn't even a kind of reworked version.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that entire scene, you're watching it and you're almost like, this is supposed to be Where's My Mind, right?
Yeah.
Like
So
that's what
think
this
about-
is supposed to be.
So think about this though, like Westworld, great show, amazing show, but it wasn't long ago that everybody was gaga about Game of Thrones, and now it's just gone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the finale nuked any desire to rewatch that show.
It really
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, and
it's unfortunate.
that's what gets me is that, like, think about it. Like, if we go back a year or two, everybody was talking about GOT. Like, we were talking
All the
about
time, nonstop.
all the time. Like, what's happening, what's not happening. And I don't think I've ever seen a show where it just ends and everybody sort of goes, okay, well, that's the end of that.
Well, that was a thing we lived with for 10 years or whatever the hell long it took.
Like, you think about Seinfeld. Like, I still watch Seinfeld to this day. Like, I'll like crank it up and like, oh, I love Seinfeld. Or people like Friends or stuff like that. But do you ever hear of anybody going, oh, I'm going to do a rewatch of Game of Thrones?
Nope.
I think part of it is that, with older shows like Seinfeld or even Star Trek, where it's a little bit more episodic with smaller arcs in between. Like, basically, Game of Thrones is one 8-season-long movie.
Yeah, good point.
Game of Thrones is like a marathon fuck session. You finally blow your load, smoke your cigarette, and then you don't think about it anymore.
But you know what? I feel like we actually in the beginning, like in the first few seasons, there totally was rewatch. We would rewatch them before the next season is going to start, because you'd want to be like, okay, wait, I want it all fresh in my mind. So when the next season starts, so you would. And you would sometimes do a rewatch right from like the start right up until the point that, the new season was going to begin. And then like, it's not, and I don't even hate the finale. Like I honestly don't. I think it was fine. I don't know. I feel like it at the end, it just hit the point where it was a lot of work.
Did I tell you guys my idea of how it should have ended?
I'm scared.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Ready?
Yep.
This is how Game of Thrones should have ended. All right. So, what happens is, the Unsullied and the what are they called? The Ducati or Ducati. They show up at
Dothraki.
Dothraki. Thank you. I don't even remember their names anymore. Goes up to the front gate, And remember where they're like, oh, we're going to lose. And then what happens is she decides to let them in. So they all come in. So there's no attack on King's Landing. They all come in. And what happens is Jamie is talking to her and says, listen, you're carrying my child. You know, we got to survive, yada, 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 yada. And she's like, okay, let's let them in. And then what happens is they all come in. They're all in front of the Red Landing or Red Palace or whatever it's called. And what happens is she turns to that Meister and she goes, my children will not be slaves. And she blows up because it's all dragon fire underneath the big landing. So she kills off all the Dracati and all the Unsullied. And that's why the woman with the dragons goes nuts. So she comes in, she starts wiping everybody off, blah, 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 because everybody's dead. So then what happens is Jon Snow meets her, remember? Remember when she's like in that whatever room she was in, and Jon Snow shows up. So what happens is Jon Snow kills her. Okay. And then the dragon comes in, Drago or whatever his name is, and he suddenly wargs because that's what Bronn did. Remember when Bronn was in the big fight? He goes, I've got to go now. He's actually gone into the future and warged the dragon. Okay. You're all following me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So he wargs the dragon. So the dragon picks up her body and flies off. Okay. So now Jamie sees his sister going nuts, stabs her, Mountain kills both of them. Okay. So now the Mountain is coming down the steps and what's his name? The Hound meets him and they start to fight. Okay. So as they're fighting, the Hound is losing. And then what's her name shows up? The young girl.
Arya.
Arya shows up, kills the Mountain. Okay. And what happens is all three of them fall off a cliff together into the fire. And as they fall, the Hound turns to Arya and says, stupid girl. And they all die. Okay. So now we're at the very end where there's the Bronn, you know, they're making Bronn the king. Okay. So what happens is Jon says to Bronn, I'm sorry I couldn't help you. Remember when he does that line? What happens is Bronn says to him, that's exactly where you should have been. So all of a sudden, between the two of them, a snowflake falls. And so Jon Snow is like, what the fuck, a snowflake? And Bronn stands up, okay? And his eyes turn blue because he's the Ice King. He stands up and he does the arm raise. And all you hear is all the dead Dothraki and all those guys coming to life. And then they cut to Jon, and Jon looks really confused. Blizzard, end of show.
End scene.
See? That's pretty good.
I like
there
it.
There were a few people that did think that Bran was the Night King.
Yep.
That he was future hopping back and forth.
He
I don't
should have
know.
been.
There
Well,
were
it would
things
have
I
been a more
liked.
interesting way.
There were things I liked, and there were things I didn't. I kind of feel like Daenerys got cheated, but
Oh, yeah, definitely.
yeah, no, that's all. I'm glad the throne got destroyed. That was my favorite
Yeah.
part.
Yep.
That was like, screw y'all. None of you gonna sit on it. All right. It's like,
Creole.
Everyone that was upset with that finale, all I could say was just, you know what? Remember the Sopranos finale? Fuck off.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my
Hey,
God.
man,
And
that's a great ending.
and the people that were calling their cable provider saying, hey, my show cut off. What happened?
So good.
That wasn't like, seriously? That, to me, is a spectacular ending to a show.
Yeah, having watched that show well after it had finished airing, like I think I finished it about 4 or 5 years ago. Like I thought that, like I kind of knew that ending was coming, that it was just going to cut off, but that was the ending. Like it was foreshadowed well. Like it was an appropriate end to it, and it's just like it didn't even feel like that much of a shock. It was more like he's got to die here, right? This is going to happen.
And that's the thing, though, is you don't know if he died or not.
I mean, that's right. That's true. But at the same time, like they've talked about it in previous episodes, and even earlier in that episode about like, what do you think happens? Right? Like they talk about what they think, what their guess is, what happens if they die, and it's just like it's just nothing. Like you just blank. It's just nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
I think at one point and during the course of the show, they even might have said the line about you never hear the one that gets you.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Say that.
And his face kind of like looks like that last moment of him looking like it looks like someone was coming out of the bathroom.
Yeah. Man, my favorite episode of The Sopranos is still The Russian.
Oh man, Pine Barrens, great episode.
Isn't that not great?
Paulie and Chris wandering around with no fucking shoes.
Oh, that episode's so good.
Fucking Paulie.
That was so tense too.
Yeah.
Because
That was a Steve Buscemi directed episode, if I recall correctly.
I believe
Really?
so.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he
a few.
directed a
Wow.
couple.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he directed a couple of them. Yeah, I think for me, like one of the most like crazy moments of that show was probably when what's his name? Is it? It's not. It's not Chris, is it? Yeah, Christopher. It is Christopher. Like when he ends up killing his girlfriend.
Oh God, yeah.
Because like you don't think
man.
he's the one who's gonna do it. Like he understands that she's gotta die, but you think that it's gonna be like Paulie or someone, and then the fact that he does it is just brutal.
Oh yeah, that was some of the tensest TV I ever remember watching. Was that whole Adriana situation at the end?
Yeah. That's too bad he passed away, eh? James Gandolfini.
Oh yeah, he was only like 51.
He was a great actor. One movie I hate him in, though? I absolutely hate The Fortress. Or The Castle. Sorry, The Castle. Where he plays the warden of a military prison.
Oh, I remember the movie. I didn't see it, though.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's absolutely horrible. And Robert Redford plays a general who's been put into jail. Anyway, it's just... The thing about Gandolfini is he is being a real officer, like he's taking charge of things and blah blah blah. But Robert Redford is kind of like this, sort of wild card general. And anyway, it's a terrible, terrible film.
Isn't the Sopranos movie with his son supposed to be
delayed?
Delayed? Is it still happening?
Yeah. Yep. It's got a ridiculous title. I think it's like the Saints of. It might be the Saints of Newark.
Okay.
Oh
right.
God.
Not sure how I feel about it, but I'll probably
The
watch
Many Saints of Newark is what it's called.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's supposed to come out September of this year, but I heard that might not make that date now.
Who knows when anything's going to come out anymore?
Yeah, all bets are off.
But yeah,
my
his son is playing him. Supposedly
His real son?
Yeah. Michael Gandolfini.
Oh God, really?
I mean, really, like it's almost perfect casting, right?
I'm definitely going to give it a chance.
Yeah,
I will
Ray
too,
Liotta's supposed to be in it. It says
No
here
shit.
with John Barenthal.
His face got really weird.
Which one?
Ray Liotta?
Yeah.
Oh, he doesn't look the same at all.
His face got really strange. Like he's like way too much Botox or I don't know what, but it looks bizarre now.
I haven't seen him in recent years.
It looks like his face got fat, but he didn't.
Yeah.
Like that's how I would describe it.
Strangest shit ever.
He might be taking steroids for something, eh?
Oh, good point. You know what? That's a very valid point.
Yeah.
Maybe he had an organ transfer or
that
something.
would do that too, wouldn't it?
Yep. It would just do his face.
I'm not making fun of him, so please.
No, I know. Just saying it could be why.
It's just weird.
I watched Goodfellas not that long ago.
Oh yeah, I watch that like every other year. It's so fucking good.
If it's ever on Paramount, I'm like, that's in the background. That's such a good film.
They got the DVD of it, and it was such an old DVD. It's one of those A side, B sides. You have to flip the disc halfway through.
Oh my God!
I think it's the only one I have like that.
That's an old DVD. Holy crow!
Old school.
Oh man! Well, I told you, we used to have the Selectivision, which was like records, and you used to have to do that with Selectivision, where you'd flip the record to watch the other half of the movie.
Yeah. So one other point of Westworld this season, I don't know about anyone else, but I couldn't get it out of my head that sort of the main antagonist this season was Toulour from Oceans 12 and 13.
I know, right?
I like Vincent Castle a lot, but I couldn't get that image out of my head. I'm waiting for him to go, well, sorry, Danny.
Yeah, I kept seeing that, but at the same time, it's like I feel like he did a really good job, but it almost, I feel like if I go back and watch the first episode of this season when like we first hear of him, and then when we eventually see him in episode 2, it's like kind of like a completely different character. I know there was a theory going around that he was just a hologram, which I thought was, made a lot of sense. And I was like eagerly watching to see if he was interacting with things. And then once he started, I was like, okay, that's clearly not the case. But then to find out that he was just like had a whispers in his ear kind of seemed like a little less, like made him a lot less menacing.
Him being a hologram would have been great.
Yeah, like I thought he was literally just a projection of Rehoboam and he had died forever ago.
I would have liked that.
Do you watch on Netflix that Altered Carbon series?
Yes, actually finally just finished up the season.
I only watched the first episode of the second season, and I liked
Excellent
it.
segue, Mr. Apollo.
Did
did not enjoy season 2 at all.
You
Really?
did not, or did?
I haven't finished, but I won't.
So I do not like season 2. We haven't actually finished it.
I finished it. I liked it, and I didn't like it at first. And by the time we got to the end, I liked it okay. Season 1 was definitely a better cyberpunk show. The big thing, and this still no spoilers about the end. Don't worry. The big thing I liked about this season was the introduction of the Trep character from I can't remember her name, but she was in a lot of the Marvel New York shows. Misty Knight.
Yeah, she's Misty Knight.
She plays a bounty hunter in this, and she's super good in it. I really like her.
Yeah.
But it was good, not great. I want to rewatch the first season again, but the second one, good, but just, I don't know, it didn't do it for me as much.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the series Rome?
Yes, I'm a big fan of that series.
Oh my God, that is one of the best shows I've ever seen on television.
I've told that story, I think, to the group a couple times where the two main characters are going across the ocean, and you got the one straight-laced Roman centurion, and the other guy's a real slack ass. They're in a storm, and he says, "Poseidon can suck my cock," and then the camera pulls out, and the straight-laced guy goes, "When are you going to learn to shut your big mouth?" And then they shipwreck, right?
I love where at the very, very end, the last line of the series, and I'm not going to say it in case anyone's not seen it, but remember when he's walking with the child and he says,
it's been a while.
Funny thing about that.
Yeah, I've got it on my drive. I'm planning to rewatch that again soon, but it is a brilliant show and it's hilarious. It's got Caesar in it. There's all these quotable lines like Caesar says, "It's only hubris if I fail," and "So I was having an orgy, so what?"
Yeah, it's just like, it's one of my favorite shows ever. At the point when it was made, it was the most expensive television series ever made.
Yeah, it's one of those old school HBO shows. Back then, that and Deadwood were my absolute favorite shows. Deadwood's still in my top 5.
Oh, yeah. Rome is one of those ones that, and there's another show that like kind of just dropped off the radar where you mention it to people and you go, "Hey, have you ever seen Rome?" And they're like, "No, never heard of it." And you're like, "No, it's so good."
It's only 2 seasons, but it's so worth watching.
Oh, God, it is. And I love that they like played into the fact that, in Rome, people did graffiti everywhere. And that's the opening sequence is graffiti all over the walls, because that's what Rome was. And that they just had no, what's the word for it? No stock in human life. Like you kill somebody, it's like, yeah, okay, cool, he's dead.
There's a funny little connection.
Somebody will make another.
There's a connection there between season 1 of Altered Carbon. The guy, I think Bancroft, the rich meth, he played Mark Antony, and he was fucking brilliant.
Oh, he is one of my favorite actors of all time.
He's so good.
That guy is incredible.
He's such a contemptible fuck as Mark Antony. I loved it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's just an ass.
There's that one guy, he was a slave at first, but then they gave him his freedom, but he stayed on as like an administrator, the Parska character, and Mark Antony's like, "Oh, Parska, since you got your freedom, you're become a contemptible little cunt," or whatever he said.
Yeah. Oh, I love that movie, or that show, sorry. I'm still watching Saving Private Ryan here. They're at the very end when Tom Hanks grabs Private Ryan, says, make your life worthwhile. And that's when I start to cry. So I'm going to start to cry in a moment. Sorry, I'm dead serious. I'm going to cry.
I believe you.
Yeah, this movie is something. All right, I've turned it back up. Shut up.
Mike's an emotional guy.
I'm
Come
only
on.
laughing because I can never tell if you're joking when you say things.
What do you mean? I'm never joking.
I believe him this
my
time.
God.
I do believe it this time.
He's like leaning up against the troop carrier. His hand isn't shaking anymore. And the private is standing beside him. And he's like, oh my God. And he's pulling out the letter.
I thought he was going to say ice pick for a second. I was going to lose it.
Yep.
Oh,
I went
no.
right there. I went right to high five or ice pick.
No, this is real. Shut up. Like, seriously, there's like saying that he died in combat. So now they're going to go and they're going to show. The translator's walking down the road and he's got his rifle. And he's like looking at stuff and he's sad. And they're all around the captain. The captain's dead. Guys are running up. And then the guy is like, he's like running by and he doesn't even know it's him. And he runs by and the other guy runs away. Oh, okay. I'm finished crying. It's like the saddest thing ever.
Well, now I know that that's a thing.
The other thing that makes me tear up, I'll be honest about this. My guilty pleasure.
Oh,
is,
boy.
You get ready? Here we go. Remember, what do you call it? Oh gosh, what's that movie called? With Bruce Willis in it, and they're fighting the asteroid.
Armageddon.
Armageddon out of here. When like the guy is like walking to the shuttle, and he's like he's divorced his wife, and the kid goes to his mother and goes,
oh God.
"Hey,
Yeah.
mommy, that salesman's on TV." And then she comes to the room and goes, "That's no salesman. That's your father." And that makes me cry every single time.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It is. I think, being a divorced dad, it's like when I watch The Road. Holy shit. I want to put a bullet in my head after watching The Road.
Oh, God.
It's like the saddest. Like, I was sitting there watching this film going, what the frig? Oh my God, why am I doing this to myself? And yeah.
So, using the subject of emotional war stories, can we talk about some Clone Wars Final Four?
Yes. Let's talk about Clone Wars.
Dave Filoni should be given a medal. Or two.
And a hug.
Yeah, the ending, I feel like the series got the proper ending.
I was a little tiny disappointed because I really wanted Maul to have the Darksaber so that we got some sort of connection to the Mandalorian in some sort of like tangential sort of way.
Yeah,
just so that people were reminded that he had it.
I agree, but I still got faith in their overall plan.
I do, because I have faith in Dave. Like, I do. I know he's got a vision, and I kind of wanted it to be there.
Yeah.
But still getting to see them execute Order 66 was pretty cool.
Once it started doing that overlap, I was on the edge of my seat. And the big thing for me was, what is Rex going to do? And the way they did it was so clever, because he did the order. He struggled with it, but he did it. And I was like, oh my God, like, what the? And then, they went into the whole chip thing, but I was like, because we've seen in the movie, Cody, he didn't hesitate.
Nope. Open fucking fire.
Yeah, he's just like, label him.
But I don't think Obi-Wan and Cody were as close as Ahsoka and Rex, or Ahsoka and Anakin.
Agreed.
It also explains why Rex wasn't anywhere near like the sacking of the temple or anything, because he was off with Ahsoka.
Frolicking.
It's funny. I saw an interesting tweet from the guy who voices Darth Maul. His name is escaping me. Basically, if you flash back to 2008 and told somebody that the Clone Wars series finale would be entirely about Ahsoka, Darth Maul, and some random clone they barely know, they'd probably call you crazy. But here we are, like 12 years later, like bawling our eyes out
Oh,
over how it ended.
That was Sam Witwer. Yeah, the guy I was thinking was Crashdown from Battlestar. But yeah, I saw that tweet as well.
Oh, he's great. We used to chat on Twitter during Being Human.
Cool.
I love that show.
He played the vampire.
And he did well. The British one is better, but still it was good.
Yeah, I agree.
One of the things I liked about these last 4 episodes is they completely changed the opening credit sequence, and it was all very red and dark and sinister, and the music through all these episodes just got darker and darker as Order 66 came in, and we were running parallel with the movie, and it really connected things in a way I liked, and just fucking loved it.
It definitely gave you like a mental time index as to when this is happening in accordance with Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Or Revenge of the Sith.
I feel like the music, to get back to that for a sec, by the time we got to this last one, it was a dirge.
Yeah.
Like it was the most depressing, sad, like mournful piece of music that I think I've ever heard them really use for Star Wars. So I was kind of blown away. I would just looked at Cryos and was like, what the hell's gonna happen? Jesus Christ. Like they're setting this up. And then as it turns out, yes, there's a reason.
Wow.
I like that they dealt with how Ahsoka lost her sabers again, because the novel which Cryos and I have read is canon and she did not have them.
Yeah, they have now invalidated pieces of that novel, and I'm curious as to why they did that, because, Disney was all, we're going to throw out the old canon because it's bloated and hard to follow and hard to fit things into, and we've started our new shiny Disney canon, and now we've just thrown out the first couple, like the first chapter or whatever of the book. Because as per the book, she and Rex were supposed to fake their deaths on Mandalore to escape Order 66.
Right, we were kind of expecting that when the season started.
And I mean, her sabers were green in the book, but whatever. I can forgive Anakin tweaking the saber crystals, whatever. I don't care. So I think that, because we didn't really talk about very much about the sisters arc. I think we did the first 2 episodes, but not the last 2. It was I know everybody didn't like it because it wasn't very actiony or whatever, but like I think it did a good job of highlighting that to Ahsoka that not everybody sees the Jedi as the good guys, and some people see them as the hoity-toity assholes, as Merida likes to describe them as. And it really put blinders on her, what the Jedi should be versus what they are.
And as I mentioned the other day to Cryos, that during these 4 episodes, they did a little cameo with Maul and the other underworld leaders boss. There was the guy from the Trace and her sister episode arc, but it showed Dryden Voss from the Solo movie. But more importantly to me, they showed Prince Shizor, who's the head of the Black Sun. So he is sort of he's in canon now, which is awesome. Which, as I said, opens the door to Dash Rendar and Shadows of the Empire type stuff.
Yep. And one little Easter egg that I only caught in I think the second last episode maybe is that Ahsoka's top is actually in the shape of Mandalorian armor. I don't know if anybody else caught that.
I didn't.
She has the chest diamond and like the 2 kind of half breast, like the lines on her shirt or whatever the heck you want to call it, are just in the form of Mando chest plate.
When she's saying goodbye to Bo-Katan, if you look then, I don't know how much because I didn't look before, but from that point on, after she's very involved with Mandalore, she has that for her chest plate. I don't know if it happened before that or not. But
I love the whole Bo-Katan and the big fight on Mandalore. I was glued to it for that whole thing.
it was I enjoyed the final four. I think that it was I mean I love Ahsoka anyway, so like that just makes me always stupid happy when she's in stuff. And I like the fact that we got they didn't rewrite stuff, that we just kind of got to see stuff that had happened off screen, which was cool, and it explained away some things. I'm trying to figure out, and I tried to look into it today because it was bugging me. And so all of this happens in 19 BBY, and I'm just trying to figure out how long between them crashing and Vader getting to the moon and getting her saber and seeing the crash site, like, because we kind of know roughly, well, we know in Vader's timeline, like the events that happen that get him to the point that he ends up like Mustafar and stuff. I'm just kind of curious how very Vadery he was, I guess, is what I'm going for. Like, was he like pretty newly Vader?
I don't know, but when I was looking at him very carefully, but probably just was the animation style. But his body frame still seemed quite thin. You know what I mean? He didn't seem like a big bulky Vader. He looked like the Anakin physical model, just in a different set of clothes.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to, like, he seemed like, when you look at that point where he picks up the lightsaber and he takes it and he sees Rex's helmet, like, you're just trying to decide, does he think they're dead and is he sad? Or does he know, because he's always been able to sense her and vice versa. So does he know she's not, but he still has enough of Anakin in there that he doesn't want her found? Like, I don't know. I couldn't decide.
See, I took it more as he's staring at that lightsaber and he's going, "This is my fault because I kicked all this off."
Or is he thinking, I have to find her and kill her because the Emperor says so?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, right? You don't know. And we don't know how well. I mean, it's possible Ahsoka can hide herself in the Force, like, because we don't know how much time has lapsed either between the presumed death and this happening. But yeah, like, I don't know. I think I want it to be that he felt bad, and that's why I kind of want him to be just brand new Vader, baby Vader, if you will. Rather, just because I like to think at that point he's still got this little tiny bit of himself struggling,
Slowly being drowned.
Yeah, you know. But I don't know. We won't know.
I do like that final scene when the snow and the saber and all that, there wasn't any dialogue. It was just all music and presence.
Yeah, there's like no dialogue for like the last 10 minutes of that episode.
Well, it was like the whole point where Rex is like, okay, well, it's us or them, so, you know, and she's like, no, I'm not gonna be the reason they die. So they do everything to save them, and then in the end,
the clones kind of get scary when they become the enemy. It's like they just kept coming and coming, and the action kept going and ramping and ratcheting up. I was like, I was like ball of stress by the end of it.
If I didn't know who was going to live, because obviously you know who's coming out of it because timeline stuff, I would have been very concerned at that point. But it was still, I was more, I think, because I knew Ahsoka was going to live and I knew Rex was going to live, so I was more worried that there was no way they were going to be able to save the clones that were her friends. Like,
right. And they made a point of showing Jesse's helmet, like he died.
Yeah. Like, that was, and with, you know, her markings on their buckets and stuff, like,
yeah, that kind of twisted the knife just a little more when they're chasing her down wearing her colors.
Yeah. Yep. So it was just really well done. And it was, I mean, you can tell that Dave Filoni loves Ahsoka a lot. He just does.
I'd be curious to know if Ahsoka, having been in, Rebels and Clone Wars, I wonder if she is the Star Wars character that has had the most screen time.
That's a good question.
I mean, Vader certainly has had a lot of plot, but
No, but if we separate Anakin and Vader into two separate characters,
Somebody's probably crunched those numbers out there.
it's just, people, back when Clone Wars first came out, everybody hated Ahsoka. Like, what do you mean Anakin has a Padawan that we never ever hear of in anything prior to this? And now it's like everyone's favorite character. And I'm like, yeah, well, when you get 7 seasons plus, a bit more in Rebels worth of character development and stuff, of course you're going to be a more developed, better character than other people in the universe.
I was always tepid on Ahsoka at best for years, but like up to this point now, she's one of the best developed, strongest characters in the entire thing.
And she really sticks to her guns too, right? Like, so she never stops being what she thinks the Jedi should be.
Yeah.
I will admit, I would love to see a Luke Skywalker series set after, like, everybody else gets their animated series except for Luke for some reason. And Luke is the whole reason that this thing exists. So why don't we give Luke like a new Jedi Academy animated show set after Jedi, but before Kylo does stupid bullshit? And like, let Luke Skywalker have a fucking TV show for once.
They still could. That's still a big chunk of sort of unused Star Wars time lore,
And I do think that's partially why they set the sequels 30 years in the future from when we last see them. One, it's so that the actors' ages match up with how old they are, but also so that they would have 30 years worth of in-universe time to write different stuff. Because with Clone Wars, while Clone Wars was cool, there was always a cap on when it had to end because, Revenge of the Sith has to happen.
Right.
Good point.
It's fertile ground, that post-Jedi time period, which we're seeing with The Mandalorian, which is the first thing we've really gotten post-Jedi.
Can I just say, all right, now I know this is going to sound maudlin, how much I love that show.
Which one? Mandalorian? Me too, man. Preaching to the choir.
It's just like, I think back to that scene with the 2 troopers on the cycles, and they're like, yeah, he's killed everybody. And the guy's like, so should we come in? No, he's killed everybody.
I like that because it felt a little kind of D&D session-ish with its silliness, but it was still worked. It was so believable. It's like we got to see a side of the Stormtroopers we never really get to see, and it just worked.
Yeah.
Plus, we also see Stormtroopers as kind of threatening, which was nice. Like, they're always the cannon fodder for the protagonist in like every other Star Wars property.
Yeah. But just when he punches the Baby Yoda, oh my god!
You felt a million voices in the Force cry out in anger.
When he's like, wah, wah. He goes, "You want to see it, don't you?" Yeah, I do. I want to see it. No, you can't. He's like, "What? No, come on, let me see it."
I'm looking forward to more Moff Gideon, like Giancarlo Esposito. I mean, I always see him as Fring from Breaking Bad, but he is such a good fucking villain.
Oh man, when he comes with that TIE fighter and does the
oh yeah,
shit, that's good.
Oh, the other Star Wars news, I guess might have been just today. Taika Waititi going to direct a new movie.
Really?
Super stoked.
Yeah.
so they say, and it's interestingly enough, the person that was writing with him did 1917. She wrote that, as well as she did the original season of Penny Dreadful, which is why I.
Oh, cool.
And there's also another unnamed series that they're talking about too.
Gail Godot posted a picture or a gif of her meeting Mark Hamill, and she totally fanboys out. Like, she's so excited to meet him, and she's like, "This is my favorite thing I've ever done." And there's Mark Hamill being, old guy, and Gail Godot is like, "Oh my god, I love you so much."
So speaking of Mark Hamill, those of you that have seen the article/picture of him, we knew he was going to be in What We Do in the Shadows this season. Do we know when that episode is? Like, is that this week kind of thing?
It actually said it's. Wait a sec. I don't know if I didn't share it because I didn't want to spoil.
Okay, let's. Excuse me. Can we stop for a moment? Mark Hamill's going to be in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, an article's been making the rounds. We knew about it a long time ago, but it's confirmed. Yeah.
Well, there's a picture of him in costume and stuff on it too, but it talks about. It also talks about. The thing I was actually more upset about was the fact that it spoils his character in it, and I would have rather been surprised. But I just want to see. It did say. Oh, I can't find it.
Maybe I don't want to know. Maybe I want to be really surprised.
Yeah. I want it to be a surprise.
Yeah, don't tell us. Don't tell us.
I'll give you an idea how much longer we have to go. How about that?
That's a better question.
Okay.
How many episodes do we have left? What do we've done 4 or 5 now?
Yeah. I was talking to Doug Jones the other day, and I was telling him how much I loved him as the Baron.
He was good.
And I said, "How could you vomit so much?"
I like where he stopped short and looked at the cameraman.
Oh man, he's hilarious. Doug is a really nice guy.
So I know the date, so it's not. It's coming, but it's not yet.
Oh, sounds like my honeymoon.
We finally got that in the podcast. Woohoo!
Baby!